Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator, actively alienating everyone, in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar Dee Eight. Starting with me, huh? Well, I've been ready. See you later. Even Jessica was probably tempted to succumb to the fear of a girl her age, but she crushed those feelings and strengthened her resolve. Be careful, okay? We're probably being watched, right? We can't do anything we aren't told. All we can do is exactly what they say. They say the old geezer killed those 6 in the dining hall instantly with no hesitation. So, if we try to fight back, we might end up the same way. I know. I'll beat them at their own game. Don't do anything reckless. If you think you're in danger, your own safety comes first. If Uncle Kraus finds out that his daughter sacrificed herself for him, there's no doubt it'll tear his heart apart. It goes the other way, too. If Mom and Dad are both killed and I'm the only one left, my heart will rip itself to pieces. Battler-kun? What you said earlier is true, right? Yeah. Kairi-san and the others are already prepared for what will happen. Then, the way things are now is just perfect. Everyone's lives rest on our shoulders. The hostages can't do anything while they're locked up. That means we'll have to manage something ourselves. If something happens, run back to the guest house. At that time, we'll be done playing along with Grandfather's game. Aniki? At that time, we'll declare war. Wherever they're locked up, we'll save them, and we'll deal with Grandfather accordingly. Are you sure, Nikki? Shannon-chan's there too. That's why I'm saying it. I'm not sitting around and waiting for my fiancé to be killed. What scares me is not that Shannon might be killed by Grandfather. I'm just worried you guys will get there first and clobber the damn geezer who made my fiancé experience terror before I do. I see. This really does sound like a test to see who will be successor. Who will be the successor? Yep. The first one to bury a fist in that old face will be the next head. George, Battler, and Jessica each forcefully nodded their heads and put their fists together. Then Jessica headed off to her own room, as designated. Her form disappeared into the darkness of the rose garden, waving in the strong winds. Watching her go, George and Battler gripped their fists even tighter, making them quiver. Left on the second floor, Maria watched Jessica's back through the window. She wore a blank expression. I wonder what everyone's getting so upset about. Even though when Beatrice is revived, everyone will be brought back to life. Jessica's form was already being completely swallowed up by the darkness. At that time, the phone began to ring again. Battler and George heard it and came clambering back, but Maria picked up the receiver right away. Hello. Is that Maria-sama? It's me, Shannon. Would you please hand the phone to George-sama? This time it was Shannon on the phone, and this time the message was to tell the next person, George, where he was to go. We're still on day 1. Technically, I don't think the second Twilight's ever occurred until, the next day. So I don't think anyone's technically supposed to die yet. Of course, since the time of her birth, Jessica had been raised in this mansion. The atrophied Western-style house that the cousins called a mansion was her home. And yet she had never understood her cousin's feelings as much as she did today. At the same time, she had never felt her own home, which she knew well, to be as alien as it seemed now. Her own room. This had once been her hideaway, the only place in this vast mansion where she could feel at peace. However, she had never felt as much pressure coming from that door as she did now. A test, you say? Tish, what the hell could be waiting in there? I'm not going to find my desk and stuff dragged around all over the place, right? She acted tough, trying to deceive herself, trying to make herself believe that she wasn't scared of anything. Readying herself, she opened the door to her room. Is it Goda and Kumasawa dead? Okay, this definitely doesn't appear to be a fearful or shocked expression. This is more of a confused, what the fuck? Huh? When she saw that, fortunately the room didn't appear to be messed up. She relaxed. No one was there. Of course, there was nowhere for anyone to hide here. Right away, Jessica locked the door behind her. This way, the room was safe. She peeked under the bed and in the closet, but of course no one was hiding. What the hell? She looked at the clock. It was just past 23:10. As her tension lessened and fatigue came back to her entire body, she realized how messed up this whole day had been. It was still about 23 o'clock. The plan had been for all the cousins to gather, have fun playing around, and talk animatedly about various things into the night. Normally, we would have been doing that kind of thing right now. Why has that turned into this? It's all that damn geezer's fault. How could he do that to Mom? To everyone? She shook her head back and forth with anger and sadness, but there was no one here to direct those emotions at. Because of the lock, this room security was guaranteed. Remembering that one more time, Jessica somehow regained her calm. If it keeps up like this and nothing happens, I want to go to the dining hall and see Mom's dead face. Even though Goda emphasized so strongly that it was gruesome and that I definitely shouldn't go to look at it, even so I wanted to see her face at the end. But we were warned repeatedly that stepping out of line even a little would put the hostages in danger. Could it be that locking the door was also against the rules? If I close myself up in here, I alone might be saved. But if I don't open it, it'll surely be against the rules, and Dad, Ken, and Kun-chan, and Aunt Kairi, and Dr. Nanjo will be killed. There's no way the scales will balance out between 5 lives and my own life. Jessica tightly shut her eyes, resisting the other part of herself that said, isn't it okay as long as I stay alive, faced the door and made to unlock it. At that time, clap, clap, clap. A crisp applause rang out, making Jessica's heart leap. If the door had remained locked, it might have been in violation of the rules, and harm could have come to the hostages. But despite that, your own life might be saved. However, you resisted that temptation, and were about to unlock the door yourself. That bravery of yours is worthy of admiration. Who? If I, the owner of this room, searched everywhere a human could have been hiding, where did this man come from? There was nowhere for a human to hide, but could something non-human have managed it? This was supposedly my first meeting with this largely built middle-aged man. I didn't recognize this guy, who looked like a butler and bore the crest of the one-winged eagle. A pleasure to meet you, Jessica-sama. I serve as head furniture for the master, the 27th of the 72. I am called Renove. Renove? Ooh? Genji-san? Is it another language writing of Genji? Ah yes, Genji is like my little brother. Or perhaps he was my true form while in this world. You might even say he was my vessel. What's this guy saying? Oh, my apologies. This is not something a human would be able to understand. Well then, let us move on to the main event. Well, in that case, if every person we see is supposed to be an analog of someone else in the game, like, is Renove and Genji, is Kenzo the analog? Because it have to be all entirely one way? Is Beatrice analog of Ava, of Rosa, Virgilia, Kairi? Like, so this is that test or whatever that. Well then, let us move on to the main event. So this is that test, or whatever the damned geezer talked about. Correct. This is the test that the master has granted you, Jessica-sama. At Renove's elegant gesture, like that of a butler ordering for a meal to be set out, many gold butterflies flew up out of nowhere. Gwa? What the hell? As the cloud of gold butterflies spun around in a small swirl, they gathered in one place. Then that golden mound disappeared like a pile of leaves blown away by a cold, wintry wind, and there lay a western envelope with a one-winged eagle crest done on it in gold leaf. With a gesture, Renove urged her to pick it up. Jessica timidly did so, and opened the letter inside. What's this? It is an exceedingly simple test to determine whether one is qualified to become the successor. Please attend to the question written there, with a fitting attitude for the successor who is to support the Ushiromiya family, and tell me your answer as well as the thoughts that led you to it. Dumbass! Shaking, Jessica looked between the paper and Renove's face several times. At that time, George, who had been called out after Jessica, could be seen in the arbor of the rose garden. If things had gone normally, he had planned to give Shannon the ring that would be proof of their engagement here, at this time, on this day. But the woman in front of George now was not Shannon. Read it. Read it. That is Goldsmith's test for you. George picked up the western envelope, which was on the table where he'd once had tea with Shannon, and read its contents. Perhaps its message was short. After glancing at it, George's eyes grew sharp. What's this supposed to be? It is as you see. This is the test given to you, to see if you're qualified to be the successor. As you ask yourself whether you truly are so qualified, answer that question. What a stupid question. That's right. It really is a stupid question. Doesn't that mean the Ushiromi family inheritance is also something on that level in Goldsmith's eyes? George lowered his eyes to the surface of the letter, once again examining its contents. George and Jessica, while the tests given to them were slightly different, they were almost exactly the same. Among the three mentioned below, in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1. Basically, we'll release 2 hostages, but pick 1 to die. Oh, and it's a simple 3 choices. Oh, but then you have to pick. So here's the thing. Each person's supposed to pick 2 people, but sacrifice 1. But here's the question. If one of the 2 people you picked to be saved is picked as a sacrifice by the others, well then your 2 is also killed. Which means, technically, if everyone picks the same sacrifice, but they pick relatively varying people to save, not counting the sacrifice individual, it would then be possible to save 4 of the hostages and lose 1. At which point, if you had to do it this way, from George and Jessica's perspective, the question is which person would neither one ever sacrifice? And the answer is Shannon and Cannon. Also, Jessica would never kill Kraus, and neither of them would feel okay about killing Kyrie. And even though she'd be the least prioritized in that situation, they would also... Whereas Nanjo would be the most likely to be chosen to be sacrificed by both. So not only would George and Jessica each be most likely to sacrifice Nanjo, It's very easy to tell that if you're asking yourself, okay, who would the other person choose? It's very obvious that the other person would also choose Nanjo. And either person, like you're George, like, okay, who would Jessica pick? And you're like, well, Jessica would definitely pick Cannon and Kraus. And Jessica would think of George and like, okay, George would definitely pick Shannon. And since George knows that Jessica would pick Cannon and Kraus, the only person left that's not Nanjo would be Kyrie. So, logically speaking, Jessica would pick Kraus and Cannon, and she would know that George would pick Shannon and Kyrie, and vice versa. Which means in both situations, the correct answer, unless there's some sort of twist, would be for Jessica to choose Cannon and Kraus, and for George to pick Shannon and Kyrie, but for them both to choose Nanjo as the sacrifice. But I feel like there's probably more to it. It's a simple 3 choices. Decide for yourself which one you will choose to abandon. If you refuse to choose, the test will be suspended and everyone dies. I've been given permission to kill you right here by my own hands. If you want to include even that as a choice, then there are 4 options. It's been an awful long time since I've gotten to play with a kid like you, so I can't say I'd be disappointed. Are these 3 choices only a test, or will the consequence of my choice be carried out? Don't be so naive. The one you choose will definitely lose their life. Among the 3 mentioned below, we're literally given a choice. So we can't choose of all 5. We are given a direct choice. At which point I would assume that we were forced to choose between people that would be difficult. Because it sucks for Nanjo. It really does. But if you're allowed to have all 5, it's very easy to pick. Okay, 1, it's very obvious who you yourself would pick. And it's very obvious who the other person in the same situation would also pick, and who they would also prioritize for sacrifice and to save. And it's very obvious to it's obvious to you that it's obvious to the other person what your choices would be on your thing, and that you would understand back. But if they're literally giving me 3 choices of people, they're not going to include Nanjo in this. Your life. Okay, you are allowed to sacrifice your own life to save 2 people. But you are one of the 2 people. Which means no matter what, you may choose to die. Though you can also say you refuse to make the choice, which point you and everyone dies. You, the other 2, and everyone else. Which also means... Now, there's a slight difference. Obviously, the slight difference would be the 2 people to choose from. Now, in that case, it would mean Jessica would be given the choice of her own life, Cannon, or Kraus. Which means she can choose to die to let Kraus and Cannon live, or she can choose whether or not to kill Kraus to save Cannon. So it's like, okay, she can either end her own life, and again, if you choose your own life, you can't be successor, which that's still considered a fail of the test. Because you also have to consider what's the purpose of this. And it's not just Kinzo's a fucking bastard who enjoys hurting and controlling and manipulating people. I mean, that's still technically true, and something to definitely keep in mind. But the main purpose of the test is to find someone that would be a successor. And obviously, he would not choose someone who would kill themselves. But at the end of the day, you have to also choose, okay, what do you actually want? Now, if the choices, if Jessica's choices are her own life, Cannon or Kraus, she'll probably choose to sacrifice either Cannon or Kraus. And no matter what, it won't be an easy choice. But she'd probably pick Kraus to be the execution. None of that. And George, it'll probably be between Shannon or Kyrie. Or possibly Shannon and Kraus, or Shannon and Cannon. The point being, or it could be completely inverted. It could be each one's given the choice of the other person's valued people. Meaning, George would have the choice of his life, Kraus's life, or Cannon's life. At which point, no matter what he picks, he would know that Jessica would know that he chose which one of her loved ones would die. And of course, with George, Jessica would be making a choice between her life, Shannon, or probably Kyrie, which means either you're killing George's fiancée, which is all he has, or Battler's mom, well, technically stepmom, but really his mom, and also the mother of Angie. And I'm not sure how well Jessica and Angie know each other, but they at least know each other. Shannon's life. Okay, so George choosing between Shannon's life. Everyone else's lives? What? Okay, that I did not see that coming. I did not. Everyone else's lives. So you can sacrifice yourself. Everyone else's lives implies that Shannon will also be sacrificed, because her life is not part of the everyone else category. Which means your options are A, sacrifice your own life, and everyone lives, Shannon and everyone else. You could sacrifice Shannon and you live, and everyone else lives. Or you can sacrifice Jessica, Battler, Maria, and probably all the other hostages. Now here's the thing, does it count the other people, or is it just the other hostages? Like, are we saying, okay, I want to spare my life and Shannon's life, but you have to kill Cannon, Kraus, Nanjo, and Kyrie. And at which point, Jessica's choice would be her life, Cannon, or everyone else. So even if it's just the hostages, at that point it's saying, okay, you want to have your life and Cannon spared. And here's the thing. Then it also brings up the question is this. Even if they knew directly that, I mean, they know that each of them is being tested. I mean, here's the thing. One, even if you're just going by George and Jessica are being tested, well, you as George know, hey, whatever you pick, does it get canceled out by other stuff? Like, if you choose to save Shannon, and they choose to sacrifice everyone else, does that still include Shannon? Like, at that point, you're trying to understand, one, how do the rules go in conflict with each other? Is there a time limit? And what is the other person's reaction going to be? And then the question is this. What about Battler and Maria? And then the question would be this. If Battler and Maria were posed a similar question, well, Battler would probably be your life, Kyrie's life, everyone else's lives. But Maria, obviously there's your life, everyone else's lives, but who would... Sakutaro? Is there a promise to give Sakutaro back? I mean, granted, at that point, I don't know if the game would go that direction. But, like, what would Maria do in that situation? If you're told, okay, to sacrifice everyone else, even if it's all 5 of the hostages, or all the hostages and Battler and Maria and Battler and Jessica and George, she would, one, be left alive herself, but she also should get Sakutaro back. And even then, what is the fallout of this? Like, how does this affect... If you do not choose one, all of the above will be lost. Okay, so everyone dies. Why is Shannon's name here? The second choice has the name of the one most needed and most loved by the test taker. Okay, at least you're establishing that, okay, so everyone's getting the same kind of test when it comes to that. Okay, so is it Sakutaro? Are you going to mention that Rosa still somehow survived? Is it going to say Beatrice? Like, is it going to be an option, hey, Beatrice will die? Like, it's like, hey, Maria, do you want to choose for Beatrice to die? Or Angie? Is Angie going to be the choice? Even though she's not even here, technically? Is Sakutaro going to be a choice? Also, how do these conflicting tests work with each other? Do they cancel? Do they assist? Like, what happens? Like, if everyone saves everyone else... Like, here's the thing. It's like the prisoner's dilemma thing, isn't it? To where you're like... It's like a little grid pattern that's 4x4. I mean, heck, we have 4 people to choose from here. But... wouldn't it be like that? Or is it called a zero-sum game? But where basically the only way to win is by everyone's benevolence and trust. That if a single person makes a selfish choice, it fucks everybody over. But hypothetically in this situation, if all 4 people were to choose everyone else, then everyone is saved because they're included and everyone else is everyone else. But if one person chooses the selfish option, it negates the others. Which means the only way to technically win this would be by all 4 test takers saying that they'd be willing to sacrifice themselves and their most treasured partner in order to save well, no, you're sacrifice one person. I don't know. And also, again, this also depends on the sincerity and intent of the person to admit it. It's kind of like those cursed monkey paw or genie or wishmaster things. Like, you make a wish. Obviously, the genie knows what you mean. They know what you actually want. They know what would make you happy. They know a way, easily, it's common sense. They know how to grant the wish in a way that you would have no regrets and you'd be perfectly content and happy and grateful with the blessing that you were given with your wish. Basically, in that monkey paw situation, if it grants your wish but in a way that you shouldn't want it, in a way that makes it not worth it, here's the thing. Whatever's granting that wish knows how to grant the wish in a way that has no negatives and that you would have no complaints. But they purposely twist the words around because out of a sense of malevolence. So, the intent of the person, of the jinn, kind of matters. You know, that person's character. I believe Canon's name is written second on Jessica's test. You gave this stupid question to Jessica too. Giggle giggle. You shouldn't be worrying about Jessica, right? Right now you are the one being tested. It really is a simple 3-choice test. Which can you throw away for the sake of the other 2? Isn't that simple? If you still can't decide, would you like me to lend you a coin? A coin? How would you choose between 3 options with something that has only 2 sides? No one would throw away their own life. So, there remain 2 choices that will leave you standing. Will you give up on everyone for the sake of the one you love? Or will you give up on the one person you love so that you can save as many people as possible? It's like the trolley problem, but asked by an asshole. Either way, you should be able to find a fitting, just cause. After all, this rock and Jima is now a demon island. The sentimental relationships of the human world aren't necessary here. No one will blame you. Do as your heart desires. I mean, technically in this situation, it would never be held up in court. I mean, in this situation, George would never be considered liable in any way. And morally, it'd be understandable. At that point, it'd be more pitiable than anything. And the people truly to blame, well, are the people actually murdering people. And ask yourself whether you're qualified to succeed the Ushiromiya family headship. Or rather, make your decision as if you truly were the Ushiromiya family head. Okay? Hehehe. Fuck you guys. Mocking me like this, Jessica crumpled the letter up and threw it on the floor. I believe your anger is quite appropriate. I also find it an exceedingly pitiful, and yet truly humorous question. Pukuku. How could anyone wish to die themselves? And at the same time, it's kind of like this. If you're put in any sort of system that is unfair or is insulting you, well, you have no need to feel ashamed of being angry. Because that's the correct response. The correct response is being fucking pissed. And how could anyone want to remain alive after abandoning the life of the one they love? And how could anyone massacre everyone else, as long as it's good for the two of them? No, Jessica-sama, such a person could exist. This is Rockinjima, the demon island. It is now completely cut off from the human world and fully immersed in the spirit world like cheese fondue. Values of the human world get taken out with the trash. Pukuku. So please, rank the things you desire from the bottom of your heart. Whatever remains will become a fitting answer for you in this insane evening. Don't fuck with me. How could I choose any of these? If you do not choose one, all of the above will be lost. Also makes for a fine fourth option. Even choosing that should give us an amusing show. But since that choice will result in the loss of your own life in the end, I believe it would be more wise to be pure and choose the first one, your life, so that the other two will be saved. Everything has been entrusted to your decision, Jessica-sama. Please let me hear an answer and conviction fitting for the successor to the Ushiromiya family headship. And then also, each of them were told not only are they required to make their choice, but they're also required to show their work. They're required to explain their choice. Also, is it just going to be an easy done? Or are you then going to be required, like, oh, okay, Jessica, you chose that you wanted to spare your life and Cannon's life. Well, are we killing the other 4 hostages or are we killing everyone? Okay, we'll kill the hostages. Or it's like, okay, you choose the other ones, but now we're going to take you to the jail cell and you actually have to push the button that kills them. And they have like a spike pit above them or something. Above them, spike pit that fall into them. Or it'd fill with gas and you have to watch them die. Or they light on fire. Like, it's like you're given a thing, they're inside a jail cell and it's like, okay, you chose everyone else. Now time to prove it. Here's a thing of gasoline and a match. Light them on fire. Or if you're talking about the other people, then the question is, okay, here's a gun. If you chose, you'd sacrifice everyone else. Here's a gun. Go shoot Battler, Maria, and George. I, Renove, am sincerely hoping for a wonderful answer fitting for the Master's descendant who shares his blood. Damn it. That scene was observed through the magic crystal ball Kenzo held. Kenzo finally couldn't hold back. Spreading his arms and facing the heavens, began laughing in an explosive voice. Foo-ah-ha-ha-wah. What are you waving for, foolish grandchildren? My descendants? Isn't this problem so easy that you could answer right away? Isn't this a question that should cause you to waver less than whether to put butter on or jam on your morning toast? You know, I mean, I could understand where you're coming from, Kenzo. It's kind of like, you're complaining of somebody not wanting to eat something that tastes bad when you yourself have no taste buds. Or like you're complaining about these people being upset over a moral dilemma when you yourself don't have a soul or a heart. Do you people know the correct answer? He turned to face the Chister sisters, who had been waiting on him. No, my apologies, I don't know, Lord Goldsmith. Fool, not choosing at all means game over. You foolish rabbit, who cannot even choose a reason or a goal for your own life. You aren't worth a single ant that anyone might step upon without even noticing. Die, be crushed, disappear faster than I can blink. Are you killing her? I mean, technically, even if she had an idea of the answer, at this point, as, your servant, as your familiar, as your furniture, as your subordinate, it would be seen as arrogant for her to assume, even if she is 100% confident in her own reasoning, for her to state her own feelings on the matter, even if they align perfectly with your own, would be seen as arrogant. It could also be room for, at which point, again, it's an issue of, it'd be like if you're writing an essay. You're not trying to write about the essay itself. It's like, who's grading it? What do they grade on? What are their criteria? But are you killing her? And what of you? Okay, I just thought she was going to start dying. I would sacrifice the first one, your own life, sir. Weapons fight and die in battle, and weapons exist to destroy enemies and protect allies. I will say this. 1, she made a choice. 2, she explained the reasoning of her choice. Being able to protect those we love and then die is our satisfaction, sir. Ho! A truly splendid model answer for a weapon, but an unsatisfactory answer for a human, let alone the successor. The immediate reply is very nice. So, have you been raised to think you'll be given an extra carrot for answering that way? That's wrong, see? Even that is wrong, see? Answering that way when you are asked is nothing more than giving the answer you have been indoctrinated with. Again, just what I said. You're not answering based on your own thoughts or feelings. You're raised by either thoughts and feelings you were forced to have, or by answered by what you're, demanded of by those with power over you. And you're just people-pleasing. You are the same as the other rabbit a second ago. You still live without having chosen a purpose or goal to strive for. You filth that doesn't deserve to live. It would suit you well to be crushed and used as fodder for the other livestock. Sad bunny face. There was a fourth bunny, but that bunny's probably dead. It was killed by Rosa. Also, there's Pendragon, which I don't know if we ever get to meet. Yes, sir. Animal father. Would be an honor. That's wrong, right? You don't want to see anyone else die anymore, right? Why can't you accept that? Accept that the depths of your own wound are still festering and rotting. Yes, the rotting stench would make the nose wrinkle, you foolish, rotten rabbit. Are you mocking her for feeling bad about the fourth rabbit being dead? Oh, you have survivor's guilt. You're a piece of shit. Like, that's not a very nice thing to say, Kenzo. These are words of praise for you. Thank you very much, sir. Well then, what about you, the last one? Answer incorrectly, and I will say something that only an absolute jerk would say. Which of the 3 choices would you choose? Me? Without wavering, I choose the second one. Ho? The second? There are not many who could stick their chest out and choose to offer the one they love as a sacrifice. Tell me your reason. Because the one you love will be lost eventually. If you don't love anyone, you won't get hurt. And if you lose someone, you still might be able to love again. So, the person you love right now isn't worth that much, yeah? Nihi? Cackle, cackle, cackle. I see. So that is why you reach such an answer. You rabbit who has become cowardly from pain caused by love. I have heard that rabbits can die from loneliness, but just when was it that your heart was killed? Then, rabbit, I shall alter the question. Why don't I change the second option to not the one you love, but the memories of the one you loved? How is that? Can you still select that one? What's this about the one you love not being worth much at all, foolish rabbit? Filth who cannot even face up to the depths of her own love. Try and choose it. Try and choose to have the one you loved forgotten. You can do it, right? I'll bet you can, right? Come on. Try saying that you can, okay? Yes, I can choose it. I'm not sure really. I can choose it. Lord Goldsmith, please stop this. She's about to cry. Enough, rabbit filth. Go to Virgilia and help keep watch on the dungeon. Disappear. So obviously, as far as his correct choice is everyone else. The Chyster sisters, with their respective old wounds of the heart gouged out, escaped by disappearing. It's like, oh, you have trauma. I'm going to be mean to you about the trauma. That's a sincerely very mean thing to do. After that, even though there was no one to hear, Kenzo continued talking by himself, as though in a play. I mean, I talk by myself too. Indeed, that is the nature of this charming test. In truth, no choice can be said to be correct. It is about whether they can choose without hesitation, quickly and with a resolute conviction, and their own strong, unshakable will. Basically, it's less of, are you able to live with your decision? Are you able to make a decision? I think it's a common saying. Sometimes in life, there are no good choices. Every choice in front of you is a bad choice, but you still have to choose. In the end, though, can you make a choice that you can understand to be the correct choice, based on what you value and based off of everything that is incumbent on what you hold sacred? Will you stay loyal to the values that you consider irreplaceable? What is your willpower? How willing are you to have faith in your own decisions? After all, you can't really be a leader of anything if you don't have belief in your own ideas, and if you don't have the follow-through to be not really sure what the correct word is there. But that your decision should be a part of a core aspect of who you are. It shouldn't be some like changing thing. It shouldn't be something that would like flip-flop easily. It needs to be something you're very resolute about. A decision that you can look back on and be like, that was the correct choice. Yes, it would have been nice if there were other options that would have, given me ideally what I wanted in an ideal world. But one has to be realistic, and one has to understand reality. You make a choice based on the world you live in, based on understanding. You take the time to understand everything, and you make an informed decision based on what is important to you. And you make a choice that even though, yes, you can still feel regret at the things that make you sad about the negatives of that choice, but even though you regret the things that you lost because of that choice, you have no regret in your decision at all, and you wholeheartedly know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you made the correct decision. And that, especially in this situation, any negative fallout of the decision at all, again, is Kenzo's fault. Because he's the one who forced, the zero-sum game. He's the one who's forced the prisoner's dilemma. It'd be like, it's like in the fucking Jigsaw games and Saw movies. Who's to blame? John Kramer. Not technically murder, but still technically murder. But the main point is this: you have to know that the decision you made, yeah, there might be negatives that come of it that you feel sad or regret. That happens because you look back on it and you're like, okay, that was a painful thing and it caused me pain and I still feel sad over that thing. But at the same time, you understand the choices that were available to you, and you made the correct decision, and you made the decision based on what was most important and most virtuous in your eyes. And that's the thing. You can look back at stuff at the past, and you could feel feelings of regret in regards to grief and mourning over things that happened that caused you pain, perhaps even still cause you pain, perhaps will even always cause you pain. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you have any regret at all about the decision or choice you made, because you know, above anything and everything in the entire universe, you made the correct decision. It's their reason and their willpower that are the most essential. That is what I want to learn. Yes, my descendants, I am truly looking forward to what kind of answers you will show me. Me. Cackle. Yes, of course, I once had the same question thrust upon me, because I splendidly answered that devil's question, and I was able to obtain gold and honor, and that which as my possession. Which answer did I choose? Do you really need me to say it out loud? Were you the cause of the earthquake that killed everyone else? Well then. Or was it... Have you nearly decided on your answer? I still think Kenzo killed Krause's mom. And, like I said, I still think Kenzo's wife discovered Beatrice, killed her, though at this point Beatrice has died like 20 fucking times. But I've already explained why there's multiple Beatrices, which, again, involves Kenzo doing horrible things. Then again, he's done quite a few of those. Well then, have you nearly decided on your answer? As Jessica stared at the letter that had been crushed and lay on the floor, she hung her head in constant silence. All that filled the room was stir from the wind and rain shaking the treetops. Regardless how noisy that was, it actually made the stillness more apparent. Renove waited for Jessica's answer. However, Jessica didn't answer. Whether she was lost in deep thought or had stopped thinking, Renove couldn't tell. No, he might actually have known. But cruelly, like a demon, Renove urged Jessica to voice it. If you cannot choose any, I can at least bring you peace without any pain. But... me. Yes? I had trouble hearing. Could you say it again, please? Jessica lifted her face and looked straight into Renove's eyes. It seemed that she had decided on her answer. Kill me. Jessica said it one more time, clearly. Perhaps Renove had imagined that this would be her answer from the very beginning, without any surprise. He smiled lightly and nodded. I thought you would choose that answer, Jessica-sama. Well then, there is no right or wrong answer to this test. The essential part is what thoughts led you to that answer. Come now, please answer with a fitting attitude for the successor. It's not like I chose the first one because I want to die. The second one was letting Canon-kun die. Of course. That was out of the question, so I excluded it. The third one was everyone else's lives. Of course, that was also out of the question, so I excluded it. After that, the only first choice remained. Process of elimination, is it? So it was not something you chose proactively. After chuckling slightly, Renove dropped his gaze. A human couldn't even imagine what answer a demon would have been expecting. All she could answer was that this was apparently slightly below Renove's expectations. That answer is neither bad nor good. 60%, I believe you could call it. Still an F. I'm a little disappointed. You're a pretty selfish bastard, telling me to answer with self-confidence and then being disappointed when I do. Apparently, there was more to it than process of elimination. It's a failing grade either way, but there seems to be a little bit more to your thoughts. Allow me to ask. People don't want to die, so no one would want to choose the first option. People who want to live in happiness and struggle as much as life will let them. So normally the first choice would be impossible from the beginning. However, you took that first choice. You chose to throw away your own life. Only that choice remained for you. I tried thinking of the future that would come after choosing each one. It's the same approach I take to life. I think it's the same approach any mature person would take to life. Not the killing yourself part, but I mean, any choice you make, you think, what future would this lead to? What would be the result of the choice you make? Not only in the short term, but in the long term. And why do you feel that way? Oh, and what did you see? First, I tried letting Canon-kun die. I tried to imagine the rest of my life after having abandoned the one I love. What kind of life was it? It was a horrible woman who didn't deserve to live, a shabby woman who always lamented her own decision and lived only to regret. I could never forgive a horrible woman who'd choose to live and abandon the person she loved. I can agree with that sentiment. I put an end to her myself. How brave. So, did you also consider the third option? Yeah. I tried letting everyone but me and Canon-kun die. There's no way Canon-kun would like me if I did that. So again, even with Canon-kun, I was forced to bear the cross of abandoning so many people, and even Canon-kun was forced to bear it. I'm not going to make a foolish choice that leaves Canon-kun bearing that cross. I wouldn't be able to forgive a future me who did something like that. I put an end to that woman myself, too. Again, I agree with that sentiment. Jessica had pictured it in her mind. The future, her beyond each of the three choices. There were 3 Jessicas. Of the 3, 2 had regrets. Only one could hold her head high and smile at Canon. You know, I once had the nerve to preach something to Canon-kun. Something about trying to live life to the fullest. Live your life to the fullest. Meaningful words. And a surprisingly difficult thing to do. So yeah, I've got to stand proud and show Canon-kun. Show him how to live by holding your head high and looking straight at the sun with a full smile. Will Canon be able to accept your self-sacrifice? Haven't you thought that your selfish decision might hurt him more than is necessary? That's why I want to leave a message. Ho, I will listen, but I am, after all, a demon. I may not keep my promises, you see. Keep it. Your promise. Jessica spoke, that looking quite unconcerned. She had asked the demon who was about to take her life to pass on a message, and she didn't think at all that she would be betrayed. At that extremely innocent smile, Renove closed his eyes lightly and shrugged his shoulders. I see nothing wrong with that. So, what shall I tell him? Kill Kenzo. Tell Canon-kun to live his life to the fullest. No, that's not quite it. Not Canon-kun. He still hasn't told me his real name yet. Tell the real Canon-kun to live his life to the fullest. Tell him that. But lady? Jessica? You really are... So is everyone in the fucking jail cell watching this on fucking cable TV? Like, we have the magic crystal ball that Kenzo's looking at. So he's forcing the people in the jail cell to watch this. I want to know, like, what was their reaction to first hearing this question? I assume they stayed in silence, but they were probably still very, very shocked. Renove is fickle, so he might not have passed the message on. You certainly are fortunate to have me here showing you this scene. A musty 3-sided mirror. What is it? Oh, so it gives a 3D image. That's neat. A musty, and I don't mean like it's a cube, I mean it's... Though that technically could be the case too. I mean more so it's a straight mirror and a mirror to the left and right that lets you like view in like a veranda. And the scene with Jessica was reflected on it. On the next mirror, the scene with George, isn't that the same concept of how, like, virtual reality works? I mean, technically, if you make a VR headset, why can't you just make a VR monitor? I mean, technically 3D televisions exist, though I don't remember if I've ever seen one in real life. But I mean, technically, you could make like a 3D TV that's large. On the next mirror, the scene I've also seen curved monitors at like Walmart and stuff. On the next mirror, the scene with George was reflected in the same way. None of them questioned how a 3-sided mirror had appeared from a group of butterflies, nor did they wonder why these scenes with Jessica and George were reflected on it, because the reflected scenes themselves were more important. Are you so prepared to throw your life away for his sake? I mean, technically, the other way you could do this, even if it's not a three-dimensional image, would be technically 3 flat-screen LCD monitors just set to each other. I mean, technically, there are people that have multiple monitors, and they have the monitors connected so that the arrow goes from one thing to the other, so it's part of the same screen. Or... My apologies. Kraus looked at Ken with a complicated expression, mixed in with a bitter smile. Ken wouldn't meet his eyes. Virgilia-sama, there is no reason for Milady to throw away her life. Please kill me. Please change it to the second choice. That way everything should resolve itself. Ho ho ho. I am not capable of granting that wish. After all, this is Jessica's own decision which she herself chose. At that time, suddenly the air split and the Cheister sisters appeared, flying into Virgilia's chest. Virgilia-sama! Ah! So mean, so mean. Lord Goldseaf is so mean. Ah. I'm doing the best I can, crushing me for being for animal fodder. That's just too much. Ooh. Virgilia, who still didn't have a clue what was going on, was mobbed by the sobbing Cheister sisters. They're there. Everything's all right. Don't cry. I'll make you some delicious tea. I'm leaving it up to you all to guard this place. If they do anything suspicious, inform me immediately. The goat attendants all faced each other, nodding their heads. Virgilia took the Cheister sisters and left. The sound of them going up the stairs could be heard, so they had probably gone to an upper floor. This is our chance. It looks like these goat heads are morons. I wonder if we can trick them. Kyrie realized that an opportunity had arrived, but even so, she hadn't thought of a way to break the metal bars. The Jessica, reflected on the 3-sided mirror, had her eyes closed, as though in contemplation. The way she had both her hands stuck into her pockets, wanting to be defiant until the very end, might have been her own aesthetic stance. That's all I have to say. Kill me. Understood. Well then, fear not, for I shall make your death more gentle and merciful than any sleep. As Renove raised his palm, he slowly approached Jessica. Damn it! Ah, God. Realizing that his daughter was about to be killed, Cross went half mad and repeatedly slammed the metal bars. An understandable reaction, one that I do not blame him for in the slightest bit. The goats looked like they were sneering at how a mere human didn't stand a chance at breaking those bars. Kraus's pointless efforts certainly may have been comical, but Kraus was giving it everything he had. He was now living with all he had as Jessica's father, so that he could save her. Cannon made tight fists with both hands. If he used his cursed power, he might be able to cut through even metal bars, but there were a full 3 goats. There was no way he could defeat 3 of them in an instant. It would instantly be reported, and then even Virgilia and the Cheister sisters would probably dash in. Even if he could break the bars, that would be the end of it. It was useless. Cannon already knew that the witch sneered at useless efforts like that, so he could do nothing but stare at Kraus's repeated body slams. George-sama. Shannon, who had been looking at the 3-sided mirror, raised her voice. When they looked, they could see George, who had been silent the whole time, lift his face. It seemed that George had also decided on an answer. Have you decided on your answer? Yeah, I've decided. Is it an unwavering answer? Yeah, it's unwavering. Then, let me hear it. Oh, by the way, it seems Jessica decided to take the your life option. Surely such an indecisive person as you isn't going to choose the same answer, right? Jessica gave her own answer. No matter which choice that was, it was Jessica's answer. It doesn't influence my answer in any way. I see. Then let me ask again. Among the 3 mentioned below, in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1. Your life, Shannon's life, everyone else's lives. Which one will you choose? Could it be the first one, like Jessica? Wrong. Oh? Gape looked a little surprised, because she had thought that this timid-looking man would obviously choose that option. Very well then. I'm glad the most boring option for me has been removed. Then, as crazy as it sounds, could it be the second option? Can you abandon Shannon's life? You must be joking. Why would I do that to the person I was going to give an engagement ring to tonight? How bold. Is that your answer? That's it. My answer is the third option. George took the third option. Everyone else's lives. Unsurprisingly, Gape hadn't imagined that he'd give an answer like that. She had been sure that he'd choose the same one as Jessica, so she was interested in how he had reached that answer. How had he reached an answer that had surpassed the imagination of the 33rd ranked of the 72 demons? I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me the circumstances that made it possible for you to sacrifice the lives of everyone else so that you and the fiancé you love would be safe. And again, does this include the everyone else? Like, I mean, technically there was a statement that if any of us passed your test, there would be no more sacrifices. But also, even if we do everyone else and they have to actually die, is it just the people in the jail cell? Is it everyone in the jail cell and not in the jail cell? In which case, Jessica choosing Jessica at least means one less death on our hands. But at the same time, it's like, So we gotta say, did you use the process of elimination like Jessica? Wrong. I clearly have no choice except this one. So you don't care what happens as long as it's good for you, so you can sacrifice the world for the woman you love. What are you even talking about? What? George faced the demon as he spoke, almost as though he was disgusted. Tonight, I planned on calling Shannon right here and giving her this ring as proof of our engagement. There probably are quite a few people who wouldn't celebrate an engagement between me and Shannon. I'm pretty sure all of them are dead. I was prepared to make enemies of the entire family by announcing my engagement to her. I have been prepared. Since the time I came to this island, no, that's not it. Since the time I confessed that I wanted to engage her. So you can sacrifice everything else as long as you can get married. Marriage means continuing to be your wife's ally for your whole life. At that point, I was prepared to have the entire world as my enemy for her sake. Those words, through this three-sided mirror, also reached Shannon's ears. And while I can agree with that sentiment, it's only valid if the other person feels the same way. Basically, it's a good faith argument. And that determination reached her eyes. Shannon certainly had promised to be given an engagement ring tonight. Then this incident had occurred and she hadn't been able to receive the ring. But now, even though it wasn't in the form of a ring, Shannon had received something even greater. And as proof of that, a single tear with the same sparkle as a diamond dripped down. Heh, what a courageous answer. I see. If I really think about it, this was an easy decision for you. After all, your parents were already killed on the first twilight, right? By now, there's no one whose death would trouble you. Haha, I see. Truly an easy choice, ha. Say whatever you want. This determination choice of mine, and mine is the successor. The sparkle in George's eyes was brilliantly sharp. For just an instant, Gape felt the same sense of threat as Kenzo's, and was slightly overwhelmed. I see. Staring right at her boobs. Yes, the same decision as Goldsmith. So even with your innocent face, you will also become a terrible demon in the future. What do you know? We might get along pretty well. You will succeed, Goldsmith. Eventually, I may even be summoned and serve you. That could be surprisingly interesting. Gape had needed to change her opinion of George. This man bore a determination and resolve unimaginable from his outward appearance, and not just now, but since the very beginning. I am prepared to inherit the headship right away. No, that's not it. You told me to think as the head in this test, so I answered based on the premise that I am the head. No, even that's not it. I thought as the head himself. I am now the head of the Ushiromiya family. Hehehe. Splendid to think that you'd be able to go so far. It seems you truly are one to be reckoned with. Battler's and Maria's tests remain, but I've got a good feeling that you'll pass. But only if that is your true, unexaggerated answer, you see. Do you doubt my resolve? Can you carry out the option you chose? Basically, you're going to give George a shotgun and tell him to ground killing people. I wonder how everyone in the jail cell watching this as George hunts down Battler, Maria, and Jessica. Well, I mean, Jessica's already dead, I guess. Offer all the lives that exist on the island as sacrifices by your own hand. I kind of figured we were going that well. Like, you're going to lead him to the jail cell, like, okay, you chose you wanted to sacrifice them, so we'll let Shannon out, and then Shannon will stand here behind you in chains as she watches you pour gasoline all over the jail cell with everyone else in it and watch them burn. I can. I've said I was prepared to do so several times. Ha! Ha 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 ha. Basically, we just gave him a Behelit from Berserk. Then return to the guest house right away and kill Battler and Maria. When that's done, I'll bring you the other hostages. Execute each of them except Shannon before her eyes. You can do it, right? I wonder how everyone in the jail cell is reacting to this. I wonder how Jessica would feel about this if she was seeing this. I wonder how Shannon is feeling about this. I wonder how Ava and Hideyoshi feel about this. I wonder whoever the person that, you know, Ava had picked that she thought would be the worthy fiancé for George would be. But obviously Shannon would be like, again. So here's the thing. The same way Cannon was like looking at Jessica like, no, pick me. I don't want Jessica to go down that route. I'm sure Shannon's going to be the same. Granted, there's no one to talk to other than goat people. Though at that point, the same way Cannon was like, oh, it's useless. I'm not going to break out. You know, because there's not a point. Shannon will basically just not, you know, maintain that calm. She will see George basically saying that he's going to murder everyone to save her. And she's like, no, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to become a monster. I value the George that I love, not what you'd become. At which point Shannon would forcefully escape in order to tell George, no, I don't like you making this choice. Because it's one thing, like Jessica even herself was thinking about how, okay, it'd be a burden on Cannon to know that the others were sacrificed and that, you know, he'd be upset and he'd be emotionally upset about it. It's another thing that, you know, imagine if Jessica was told, okay, you chose other people. Now Cannon's going to be released, but forced to watch you murder everyone in front of her. At which point Cannon in that situation would probably tell Jessica, no, I don't want you to do that either. Even if you live, I don't want you to kill everyone. I can. My resolve is on a whole different level from yours. Then carry it out, death for them all. Complete with this bloodstained ceremony as the new Ushiromiya family head. Understood. I'll carry it out. I'm already the Ushiromiya family head. Yes, that's right. Stain that throne red by your own hands. You will become the king of the spirit world, who controls the demons. Gape was convinced. This man truly was fitting to succeed Kenzo's madness. So what's going on with Battler and Maria? Blow wind, cry thunder. Celebrate the birth of the new Demon King. The Demon Island has now welcomed its new lord. In response to the demon's call, a tempest raged more and more. Then a massive lightning bolt fell, its tearing thunder and brilliant light, giving the sensation of a moment of silence. So, about the order of the murders. I get to choose that, right? Please, as you wish, your majesty, the new demon king of Rakanjima, as your heart desires. Well then, to start, that means the first one's going to be you. Got a problem with that? Hey, Gabe, you broke him. Huh? A gust of wind blew, stirring up George's jacket as if it was a cloak. It was very much like the cloak worn by the head. It definitely carried that impression of dignity. At that time, Gabe truly did see the storm wiped away and the sky covered with a pure, white, and vast full moon. The man who called himself the new head bore the full moon on his back and sneered at the demon. Even the lives of the entire Ushiromiya family are now part of my fortune. Reparations will be made for the damage that's been done, and it won't come cheap. You didn't seriously think you could take my parents, Aunt Natsui, Uncle Rudolph, Aunt Rosa, and Genji-san's lives and expect me to overlook it, right? Ho, 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 impertinence. Impertinence. Renove was trying to press his palm against Jessica's chest and stop her heart, but right before he could, his hand stopped. On the carpet, at their feet, 2 small red flowers bloomed with a plop plop. Did Jessica feign? After all, they all agreed. I have a question. Was George and Jessica basically just doing an elaborate fuck you, explaining their thoughts and feelings, but in the end, did Jessica stab Renove in the chest when he let his guard down? Basically he's got his hand on her chest going to stop her heart, and all of a sudden he looks down there's a knife in my belly. That shouldn't be there. That's where I keep my tea and cookies. Oh dear. You appear to have stabbed me, Jessica-sama. I appear to be dying now. I mean, technically that's a win. Flowers bloomed with a plop plop. The seed of those flowers was way up high, piercing into the heavens, on Jessica's fist. Renove's nose was stained red with spewing blood, and those drops had been dripping onto the carpet. By the way, that just now was my answer as a maiden. My answer as the successor. By the way, that just now was my answer as a maiden. My answer as the successor is different. Allow me to ask. The person I love, my family and my relatives, everyone, I'll protect them. If I'm the head, then that's my duty. Dad wasn't just swaggering around. He protected me and Mom. He fought the pressure of succeeding the Ushiromiya family for decades. That's why I know being the successor is nothing trivial. So you know what? I can give it up. Betting my own life is something I can do easily. Jessica knew. She knew that in order to protect her family, her father had bluffed and fought alone continuously. Jessica understood something that his back and had been telling her. Another left straight was buried into Renove's face. That terrifying strike wasn't due just to the brass knuckles she was using. It was a strike of a person, a family head, who could throw away everything in order to protect. If Dad's lost his qualifications to be the successor, then I, the next in line, will succeed the headship. I like these answers. head of the Ushiromiya family, Ushiromiya Jessica. I'm not the kind of coward who'd let you do whatever you like anymore. A wonderful answer. I shall change your score from earlier. Plus 10 for that answer. Plus 10 for the splendid left straight. Which means that plus 20 more would make for a perfect 100, yeah? As Renove jumped backwards, somersaulting in midair, he violently wiped away the blood pouring from his nose. It had become not blood, but petals of a red rose. The blood on his face was wiped off, and in its place was a grin filled with a delight he hadn't felt in so many centuries that he couldn't remember. I, Renove, will test to see whether your resolve is worth full marks, understand? Shut up, come at me. Come into the abyss. What? And he lost. Suddenly, beneath George's feet, a pitch-black pitfall opened its mouth wide. Of course, George had no way of resisting. After being swallowed up by that, George fell out of a pitch-black hole that had opened up in the ceiling of the arbor. As George fell down, he was hit by a reverse roundhouse kick from a sharp stiletto heel, like a strike from a carefully aimed bee. So she teleported him. That's a fucking Mortal Kombat move. And he's dead. The instant George, after being blown out of the arbor, thought that he'd be swallowed up by the rose bush, another pitch-black hole opened there and swallowed George up. And this time, a pitch-black hole opened up at Gabe's feet, and before her eyes, spitting a defenseless George out of it. At that time, Gabe had already finished the preparatory motions for the next reverse roundhouse kick. Gah, what is this? You know, I like the close-ups. Welcome back. Something giggle. And again, you keep Five Nights at Freddying him. You Fazbeared him. Right side of the head, below the right armpit, side of the right knee. As Gabe danced and spun like a small cyclone, she kept hitting him. A left foot, right foot, right foot, with successive roundhouse kicks. The fourth one became a sweep, cutting George's feet out from under him and making him fall down. But of course, there was no floor there but a pitch-black hole, and George was swallowed up once again. Gabe once again spun around like a small cyclone. George was once again spat out from the ceiling of the arbor. Take this and reflect. The abyss ends with a single strike. Tempted to take a screenshot of this and use it for the thumbnail. Die. The sharp strike of the queen bee pierced the heavens like a rising cyclone. It kicked through George's lower chest as he fell from the ceiling. And then time froze. George was pinned in midair by Gabe's raised leg. Very flexible, huh? Yeah. Still pinned in midair, George moaned. Then Gabe, with George still hung up on her foot. Okay, the amount of core abdominal power you would require to keep that much weight on the end of your foot like that at that angle would be grin. I'll admit it. At least your attitude is that of an adult. But that's no good unless you have the power to go with it. Again, this reminds me of Odysseus, of what he said to Telemachus. Again, I recommend the movie The Odyssey, the old one of Armand Assante from 1995, 1997. Did you know? They say you need 3 kinds of power to rule this world. The first is influence. The second is wealth. Do you know what the last one is? I read it in a book. Force, right? Correct. And that's where you're lacking. Gape finally released George. She kicked upwards one more time, changing it into another roundhouse kick and knocking him into a pillar. No one will feel a monarch without influence, without wealth, or without force. Kinzo possessed all 3 of those. That's why he reigned as a tyrant. If you're going to call yourself Kinzo's successor, try showing me a bit of that majesty, okay? Come on, how long are you going to sleep there? Stand up, okay? If you don't, you'll fall again, see? Pukuku, not bad movements, but I feel they are slightly unfitting for a lady. Bastard! Swaying all around all over the place. Aren't you going to strike back? Don't take me lightly, you fucking bastard. Renove dodged skillfully, jumped back, and avoided Jessica's fist. Are you just tiring her out? But he still didn't strike back himself. Because of his dodge, that was as rapid as fluttering flag blown by strong winds, Jessica's fist wasn't even able to touch him. Why does he have Ultra Instinct? Amidst the sensation that her own blood was boiling, Jessica regained her offensive composure. Is she gonna die by asthma attack? Even though this room was large for a bedroom, it was a very cramped place to keep up such exaggerated dodges in for long. She calmly realized that and started using not just her fist, but her legs as well. Oh, boxing with just your arms make you but half a fighter. Your arms must be like the hot roar of a lion, and your legs must be like the cold snake closing out on its prey. Snakes don't have legs. Pukuku true. Jessica began cornering Renove toward the wall with perfect footwork. She didn't let him get around her. Renove's magnificent dodges looked flashy, but they needed a large footing. Once cornered, he wouldn't be able to dodge anymore. Jessica knew the characteristics of her weapon, the brass knuckle, very well. This powerful weapon's most notable characteristic was how it didn't give the opponent a chance to defend. Even if they blocked with their arm, that arm would receive direct damage. If it hit with the wrong way, it might even break the bone. So she cornered him. With this fist, she'd whittle away at this demon who'd lost any way to escape. Whoops! Oh, when did... Looks like I finally cornered you, right? Oh, he backed against the wall. Where is everyone being held? Where's that damn geezer? You tell me everything and I'll let you off with nothing more than plucking that mustache off. Got it? That would be a problem. It does take me an hour every morning to set this. Once you're in a cast, you won't even be able to do that, right? Whoops. Gah. Renove had blocked Jessica's fist with his arm. He tried to act as though it was no big deal, but it must have hurt a lot. Jessica grinned. Renove smiled the same way, but twitched slightly. I see. This certainly does hurt. Here's my last bit of advice. Cry and apologize. That I cannot do. It would ruin my image. Then just crumple. Rapid fire. Why did you become Yusuke Urameshi? I approve, but still. I'm just like imagining a fight from Yu Yu Hakusho. Jessica's fists were buried into Renove, but there was a resistance that seemed too hard, and the sound of breaking glass, which startled Jessica. At a glance, it looked like Renove had caught Jessica's fist with his palm. That wasn't quite true. Did he hold up something metal in front of him? Did Jessica break her own hand? Did she break her own fingers? Oh, he made a force field. That's cheating! I mean, technically using teleportation holds against George and supernatural leg strength was also cheating, but just saying. When Renove opened his hand, a faint purple glowing barrier like a glass shield had appeared, stopping the attack by a hair's breadth. Pulling herself together, Jessica let her fists fly again. But with a truly magnificent gesture, Renove caught all of them. I am, after all, a demon. This level of magic is nothing. Even so, you aren't bad at all. If I were a human, I would probably resign right here. Because I am a demon, I can still continue to fight. What are you trying to pull? Is this the end? Are you simply going to attack all the time while neglecting your defense? Huh? Wah! Renove's palm shot to within a hair's breadth of Jessica's stomach. Jessica was knocked away by the purple shield, rolled backwards, and smashed her head on the bed. My shield cannot be broken by a mere human. Don't think you'll ever be able to touch my body again. In that case, I'll just burst through that shield. Persistent, I see. Yes, a truly fitting spirit for the successor. Perhaps I'll be your opponent for just a little while longer. This is also part of an examiner's role. Poo-coo-coo-coo-coo. Break. Ah. Gape looked down on George, sneering. George was on a path in the rose garden, lying face down in a puddle. The merciless rain beat down on him so that it looked as though even the heavens were mocking him. Is Maria's rose still there? Is it possible for George to use that rose as a weapon, like Kurama, or like a charm? Ooh, ha ha ha. Stand up, okay? And there's also the fact that a lot of times, the magic has weaknesses like mirrors or jade or emerald or scorpions or certain shapes or spiders, spider webs, wolves, silver. Stand up, okay? You'll fall again, right? George stood up shakily. It seemed his spirit hadn't given in, but the damage done to his body was fairly significant. Beg for your life. What you're doing now is the same as the fourth option of choosing nothing. You chose the third option, right? If you get down on your hands and knees and apologize, I'll forgive your rudeness towards me. Then I'll guide you down to the dungeon. There, for your beloved Shannon and your own powerless life, you will kill the other hostages one by one. You can do it, right? You did boast about having that resolve. Giggle, giggle, giggle. George didn't answer. But his gaze was still obstinately resisting surrender. If you are too obstinate, then this time you really will fall to the deepest depths of the abyss, okay? Cackle. Gape's strength was evident. That was probably clear even more than it was to George himself, to Shannon's group watching through the three-sided mirror. George-sama, that's enough. For someone like me. Nay, son? Are they still watching the whole thing with Jessica, too? Like, is Kraus watching Jessica using brass knuckles on... Or is he still frantically trying to break through a wall? Made of metal. If you didn't like me, you wouldn't have to fight with anyone, right, George-sama? Then please abandon me. Please forget me. There was no way that voice could have reached George, but even so, George answered. No way. I won't surrender. Oh, why not? Because that's my resolve. I'll fight everything for Shannon's sake, and I'll make everything except us. And make everything except us. And bless us. Hey, could you tell me something? Why are you so willing to go so far for that furniture called Shannon? She's just a washout, isn't she? Rubbish furniture that couldn't even make a satisfactory waitress. I won't permit any more insults against the woman I love. So, what are you going to do about it? How could a weak kid like you resist me? Loving someone is strength. Because I learned that, I was able to become strong. Shannon, I love you. With just those words, I can stand back up over and over again. Shannon's in the dungeon, right? Professing your love to me won't... No. She heard. That's because it's love. Shannon can hear my words right now. The reason I can believe that is because of love. You. Shannon, you aren't furniture. Even if you are furniture, you're mine alone, and the only one for me in this world. I want you to be close to me as long as we live. I need you for all eternity. To George-sama, I'm jealous. He's surpassed my husband in smooth talking. That's youth for you. Ha 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 ha, that's the strength of love. Then why are you so weak, boy? Does that weakness mean your love is also that weak? Giggle, giggle. Even your love for your fiancé is weak. The way your parents died so quickly was weak. Everything about your life is weak. Shannon taught me about love and strength. If you're trying to measure my love towards Shannon by my strength alone, let me teach you about my love. Giggle, so you say. I get it now. You're saying that the way you can still stand up after being kicked down so many times is the strength you've received from Shannon. I mean, didn't she stab him with like a stiletto shoe? I mean, technically you should be missing organs. In that case, what did you receive from your parents who got killed way too easily? At that time, there was a blackout, even though they were outside. No. This is... The thing blocking Gabe's vision was the bottom of George's shoe. Sidekick. Nasal bone fractured. It had stopped right in front of the tip of Gabe's nose. The thing I got from my mom was this kick. Several moments later, Gabe jumped back. Of course, that was too late. If George hadn't stopped, he would probably have caused the damage he'd announced. And what I got from Dad is fortitude. Anger with a low boiling point isn't something to be truly feared. True anger is disciplined by fortitude. I recognize your violent method of declaring your intentions. I also see that you've slandered my fiancé and my parents' honor. And you have no intention of taking back what you said, yes? I now understand your attacks more than enough. So maybe it's about time. Time to start fighting back. Quit prattling, foolish boy. A pitch black hole opened its mouth at George's feet. But George rapidly opened his legs, straddling the hole. The same move won't work again. It was an extremely smooth dodge, and the upper part of his body didn't even quiver. Fortitude means calmly analyzing how your opponent will act, instead of losing your cool. Why? Isn't it obvious? Can't you guess? No, I can't. It's to counter, to give back exactly what you got, to make them not want to take another pass at you. To make them cover their face in tears and snot and forget to wash it off. To make them want to rub their forehead on the ground and apologize over and over, to completely, perfectly, and thoroughly beat them until they can't get up. George dashed. Pitfalls opened one after another, but George didn't step in them again. And because he was persistent, he was able to reach Gabe a second time. Reverse roundhouse. Jaw fractured. It was stretched out more forcefully and beautifully than Gabe's had been. Of course, while it centered directly on Gabe's face, it stopped a hair's breadth away. Perhaps she couldn't rely on pitfalls at this close range. Gabe kicked at George's shins as a diversion, and in that instant of weakness, when he tried to deal with that, she aimed a kick at his stomach. It was a bee-like stab by her stiletto heel, but it sliced through the air where George no longer was. High axe kick. Collarbone fractured. Gah! By Gabe's side, George calmly announced that, his foot still raised, if the monarch's heel had swung down, a collarbone fracture would probably have been the least of her worries. This guy's stronger than me at close range? I need distance. She jumped backwards to open a large gap between them. She jumped and leapt, even flipped in midair, increasing that distance. It should have been magnificent, but for some reason it was very similar to the movements of a small, scared animal. If she opened the distance between them, she'd be able to fight at the range. It was her specialty, using a mixture of pitfalls and kicking techniques. You fool, you'll regret the pride that made you let 3 chances of defeating me slide as you fall into the depths of the abyss. Huh? When she magnificently landed and tried to aim a pitfall, a razor-sharp wind cut Gape's bangs. Yes, it cut them. It happened twice. This time it didn't just stop a hair's breadth away, but scattered her bangs with its air pressure. Armata com martello. The fundus of the eye fractured with the first strike. Cerebral contusion with the second strike. Gape was too shocked to speak. George had closed in over all that distance in an instant, letting off a fearsomely nimble midair double kick. Furthermore, with the accuracy of the edge of a razor, it cut nothing more than several of her bangs. I learned the power of kicks from karate, speed from taekwondo, and freedom of range from capoeira? I don't even know what that is. Hold on. Is an Afro-Brazilian martial art developed by enslaved Africans in Brazil. So is it similar to jiu-jitsu? Blending elements of dance, acrobatics, music, and fighting in a unique, fluid game practiced in a circle called a rota. It emphasizes agility and deceptive kicks and rhythmic motions. Benefits included increased flexibility, cardiovascular strength, coordination, and cultural appreciation. Neat. Mom was pretty fickle, but I've learned from studying various merits. That's right, Ava was really into martial arts even when she was a kid. But why don't you hit me? You aren't going to say it's because I'm a woman, right? You spoke of force as a monarch's third power. It looks like you still misunderstand the meaning of that force. In this situation, force doesn't mean hastily wielded violence. It refers to a deterrent, knowledge that if someone opposes the monarch, that person won't get away unharmed. A deterrent, you say. In short, this is what it meant. This was why all of George's attacks up until now had been stopped a hair's breadth away. These bare misses, which were more difficult than hitting directly, had all been performed so splendidly. Also, if George had wished it, any one of those would have crushed Gape. He had daringly not done that. You said it yourself, right? Force is the power to control. If you crush your opponent with force, you won't be able to control them, right? A monarch's force is something that is only shown. He does not crush. He makes others surrender and adds them to his own fortune. If you start blowing bubbles, I won't be able to make you guide me to where the hostages are. Gape had to admit it. She had to admit that George understood force in its truest sense. You'll take me to where everyone is. I would advise against resisting. I won't stop short next time. Ack. Sorry, Leah. Let me borrow your troops. This guy's too much for me alone to handle. As a large, pitch-black hole opened in the sky, thunk, 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 3 muscular goat attendants fell out. They surrounded George. Reinforcements? Should I take this to mean that you take back all that about me being weak? I admit it. I made light of your human power. That's wrong. This is the strength of a man who's experienced love. How can you say stuff like that with a straight face? Come, goats. crush this man and turn him into meatballs. Giggle, these goats are stupid, but it looks like they at least have power. I'll turn you into a corpse that even your fiancé won't be able to recognize. You refuse to surrender and intend to continue fighting? Understood. Know that from now on you will receive real harm proportional to your own attacks. You still plan on attacking me, prepare to sustain a great deal of damage. When George proclaimed that, a faint red magic circle rose up around him. It seemed that George couldn't see it. However, Gape, being a demon, could. But magic? Why does this guy have a defensive barrier? And that's also a counter-attacking type? He became a Rochi Dopo from Baki the Grappler. Is this what you meant by a deterrent? From a demon's perspective, that may have been magic, but in George's eyes, it was determination. It was a determination filled with certainty, which would be merciless to anyone who wished to fight anymore, and which would force them to prepare for a significant counterattack. Determination with certainty becomes magic. Renove had been accurately blocking Jessica's fists with his shield. But something felt odd. Even though he was certainly catching them on the shield, he felt his arm get jarred and it hurt. It should have prevented all physical damage. However, the damage from her fist was gradually being transmitted to his arm, piling up. Basically, her fist is becoming a blade. Shannon has a shield, Cannon has his sword. Renove tried to act like he was composed, so that this wouldn't be noticed. I'm not gonna get worn out. What's wrong, old guy? Starting to get a little tough? No matter how much you attack, it is useless. Why can't you understand that you cannot break my shield? I'm not gonna stop hitting you just because it won't break. No matter how hard someone's heart is, if you keep on talking to them little by little, it'll eventually start to crack. I believe it. I believe that useless effort doesn't exist in this world. That's why I can live to the fullest. If words will eventually make it through, then the same goes for fists. Give up isn't written anywhere in my dictionary. Those words were probably aimed at Cannon, who had seemed to reject Jessica's words, but Jessica knew that no matter how stubborn his heart was, those words would eventually soak through. She believed that they would surely reach his heart, that the day would come when he would stop calling himself furniture and disparaging himself, and that he'd step out into a new life. So Jessica didn't give up. She didn't lose heart. It's stupid, right? I'll bet a guy couldn't understand, right? A girl in love doesn't even think about giving up just because it's useless. At that time, Renove certainly saw. He saw the reddish glow of light that encircled Jessica's fist. This is not good. An enchantment, is it? This permeating upgrade will be troublesome. Inside her unrelenting fist and determination dwelled the power to succeed no matter what. From a demon's perspective, that was magic. Determination with certainty becomes magic. See? Nothing useless about it. Looks like my fists are making it through. Guard your arm, old guy. It seems I will have to get a little more serious. It appears it is as you said. In this world, nothing is useless. That's right. If you give up just because something's useless, that's when your life ends. You'll get through. You can be sure of that. I am an idiot, so this is the only way I can live. But even so, I'm sure I'll be able to teach Cannon-kun about a new world someday. So I'm not going to lose heart in a place like this. I'll definitely defeat you and save everyone. Damn. Got to somehow open a hole. Kraus was repeating his useless efforts to somehow open a hole between the metal bars. Useless. Nothing is useless. There's nothing. The lookout goats had been swallowed up by those black pitfalls and disappeared. Now was their once-in-a-lifetime chance. This was their only chance to break the bars. So stop it, it's impossible, Kraus-san. There's nothing we can do with our bare hands. Let's look for a tool. Don't waste time on the impossible. If you give up because it's useless, then it's all over. That's what my daughter said. Even if my body won't fit, as long as a small person like Shannon or Cannon can make it through. Now that we've reached this point, action is more important than racking our brains. Now that we've reached this point, let's work together. I'll do it too. Cannon-kun, you're a boy, aren't you? Lend a hand. Cannon-kun? Kraus-sama? Please stand back. What? What are you planning? Okay, Nason. Just one more time. Let's try struggling. Yes. I, too, will struggle one more time. No, not just one more time. Over and over again. Jessica's voice had reached Cannon. It certainly had permeated into his cold, rock-like heart. And George's voice had reached Shannon. If the love he had shown was embodied by strength, she would have to respond in the same way. An incredible metal sound rang out. In the first flash, several metal bars were severed horizontally, and the next flash they were severed horizontally again, causing many metal bars to clatter to the ground like bamboo shoots cut by a sword. Kraus, Kairi, and Nanjo didn't even have a clue what had just happened. Dr. Nanjo, which way down the corridor goes to the mansion? Oh, of course. In and to the left, in and to the left. Let's go, Kraus-sama. Virgilia-sama will notice us at any moment now. What in the world are you guys? We are. When Cannon hung his head a little and faltered, Shannon slapped his shoulders, smiled, and spoke. We are human. But Virgilia-sama, response from the lookout web, it's a jailbait. The guards, aren't there for some reason. What? Why? It's Gape, isn't it? Taking someone else's summonings without asking. Gape? Gap. Confirming battle regulations. Requesting permission to fire at the escapees. Do it. Kill them. Kill. Gap. Understood. Understood. 45, 410. Preparing for sniping pursuit combat. Ammo type guided cluster rounds. Virgilia-sama, an escape prevention bearer, if you would. Ow. Yes, you're right. Oh, I won't let you escape from here. Ow, I bit my tongue, saying gap. The underground passage in front of them was once again blocked by metal bars. The door was, of course, locked. However, that was no problem for them now. Cannon, it's those metal bars again. We're counting on you. Yes, Kraus-sama. In that case, does that mean the metal bars that were entrenching Beatrice in episode 3 were from Virgilia? Still, that's incredible. I wonder what kind of principle it works on. I'm not interested in principles. All that matters is that he can sever metal bars and that we can escape from here. It's like, do you want to explain it scientifically? Nope, don't give a shit. I will just take the benefit of it. Don't worry, Cannon. Do it. Leave it to me. Cannon sliced the metal bars again with his red curved blade, but there was a harsh, strange noise and the metal bars only had a slight scratch. Oh, what's this? These are sturdy. Wrong. They are enchanted. It's one of Virgilia-sama's magic locks. Can you cut through it? Of course, but it will take time. We'll wait 3 minutes. After taking a deep breath and concentrating his mind, Cannon extended a red curved sword again. When he pressed against the metal bars, sparks sprayed, almost as though he was melting through it with a burner. It looks like we'll be able to cut it, but it'll be tough. Kraus-sama, you've been targeted by the enemy. Please move back. Huh? Pursuers? There's no one coming. Please get behind me. They're aiming for you. 45. Data received. Target lock acquired. Commencing terrain calculation error correction. Formulating firing curve. Supplemental control point calculations complete. Data linked to 410. 410 data received. Checking the hazard zone, no problems. 00 loading 48 sub-rounds, individual homing F&F. Guided cluster rounds, preparations complete. 45 firing preparations concluded. Loading guided cluster rounds. 410 firing. A golden arrow that sparkled gold was fired, leaving a gold tail streaming hard behind. It drew a curve, went through the door, and through the keyhole down the stairs towards the underground path at full speed. So something shone. You can't block the golden arrow with a shield. Cannon code, interception stance. Let's link. Gatekeeper, understood. It's been a long time since I fought with you, Nason. Don't screw up. Yeah, I'll be serious. Then there's no problem. Cannon stopped cutting the bars and stood in front of Shannon. Behind him, Shannon closed her eyes, concentrated her mind deep into the darkness of the underground path. This hurts my eyes. A guided cluster round is a special kind of arrow made up of 48 sub-rounds bound together, so it's a shotgun shell. It explodes mid-flight and divides into 48 mini arrows. Is Cannon basically playing Beat Saber? The strength of each individual one is low, but they pierce through all shields and possess a perfect wounding and killing power against personnel. And on top of that, each one of the 48 possesses autonomous guidance toward their individual targets. It's shown. It's divided. Confirming guided cluster round division. 46, 47, 48. 48 sub-rounds, all rounds locked onto interception control. Data link to Cannon. Cannon data link received. You're incredible, Nason. You can actually see all 48. Concentrate on interception prioritization. Trust your Nason. Of course, I don't even need to open my eyes. Commencing interception. It was then Shannon became a VR headset. And Cannon played VR. To target unharmed, it was intercepted. Yeah? All 48 of them. Oh, after all, Shannon and Cannon were originally a furniture pair. They're strong when they're together. Ow, ow, ow. Is this gonna become a mouth ulcer or something? Calm down. Reload. Updating ammo type. Precision, light speed sniper rounds. Preparing for precision sniping. Sounds good, yeah. Impossible to intercept super high speed rounds. Impossible for a mere gatekeeper to defend against, yeah. A precision sniping. Roger that. Commencing. Collection of precision firing use data. What in the world was that just now? Don't worry, I don't have a clue either. All I know is that we would have died if not for these two. Cannon code, thanks. Go back to the metal bars. The next shot will probably be one that we can't intercept. How can we defend against such an attack? We don't let them shoot. Cannon Kun initiates spirit particle combat countermeasures. At those words, Cannon closed his eyes tightly and ground his teeth, with Shannon at the center of pressure and impact that only non-humans could perceive struck. Stuk. Da-da-da. This hurts my eyes again. Huh? Firing system error. So we just glitched. Did we just quick hack them like it's fucking Cyberpunk 2077? No good. Rebooting. Huh? It was spirit wave jamming. Activate spirit particle safeguards. Hurry. They're like, oh god, the Cheister sisters are cyber psychos and we're max tac. What are you doing? Cover your ears quickly, 45. An unseen, unheard impact had struck the Cheister sisters. 00 and 410 crouched down, covering their ears, but 45 didn't make it in time. As she stood, bolt upright, her eyes rolled. Ukyu? QQ? QQ? 45 got damaged. Her IME's busted. Nyaga, the noise is also horrible for me, yeah? 45, 410, and 00 damaged. Abandoning sniping posture. It came straight through the link. If we don't reboot. Raising their spirit particle sensitivity for precision sniping had backfired. They had taken the full brunt of the spirit particle shock and wave and Shannon had released. Not only 45, who had been hit directly, but also 00 and 410, who had been linked with her, were also taken down. Are you okay? I'll make you some more delicious black tea later, so get a hold of yourselves. My apologies, sir. Rebooting. Please wait several hundred seconds. All the Cheister sisters had fallen over. They would probably get back up eventually, but it looked like it would be hard for them to return to the battle lines for a while. So furniture was able to repel weapons, if only for a moment. I see. A plot to entertain that child truly will be filled with unexpected turns. Okay, Virgilia is back to using meth. Okay, Cyber Psycho. Virgilia tore the air with a large gesture, motioning as though opening a door. Come, arise, goat attendants. It is time to work. Catch and kill the escapees. Corpses are fine. We can just revive them anyway. A gold-colored door opened in the air, and countless giant goats with muscular bodies peeked their faces out. Come now, hurry. There are 5 escapees, so the fastest 5 of you win. There will be wonderful prize, so give it your all. Give it your all. Virgilia clapped her hands, urging them on. A prize? After facing each other at those words, the goats all rushed the door at once, trying to get out, making the exit as packed as the Tozai or the Yamanote rail lines in the morning. Each wanted to get out first, so none of them could get out. Virgilia held her head in frustration. At that time, Canada managed to cut enough bars to make a crack that could be slipped through. It had been a bit of work for Kraus, large as he was, and Nancho with his lethal waist. But even so, they all managed to make it through. But after they did, they only had a couple of seconds to be relieved. Immediately after, another set of bars blocked the way in front of them. This certainly is secure. I'll bet they really didn't want the people in here to escape. Cannon, sorry, but I'll have to ask you again. It may be tough, but please. There was sweat on Cannon's forehead. You could tell at a glance that cutting the metal bars, which had been made even more solid by magic, had physically exhausted him. Yes, leave it to me, Kraus-sama. Only you can do it. Please, we're counting on you. Only he could do it. Holding tightly onto those words, Cannon concentrated his mind once again and set himself to the task of cutting the metal bars again. Enemies are coming from behind. Multiple targets. Yeah, this time even we can tell. The ground's really shaking. I can tell that some ridiculous monsters are rushing at us. Don't worry. I'll use a magic to lock a blockade of metal bars we just came through. Mere goats won't be able to break it. Shannon held her hand out towards the metal bars that it had gone through. And initially I thought, we're going to manipulate the fact that the goats are stupid to convince the goats to ram the metal bars and break it for us. But she stopped right away. What is it? Virgilia-sama has started neutralizing the spirit wave jamming. It'll be bad if it's broken, and we'll lose the initiative once the Cheister sisters are rebooted. I'll make you pay in full for bullying these cute bunnies. If you're trying to gain the advantage with those clever spirit particles of yours, I'll tear away and rob you of them. I'll tear all that away and rob you of them. Please stop doing math, Virgilia. It's like you have too many cyber... Who's the Ripper Doc in this situation? Nason, concentrate on spirit wave jamming. The gap in the middle bar is too narrow for those goats. It should hold them back for a while. I don't have a clue what you're saying, but we know it's something pretty bad. Kyrie picked up a metal bar that Cannon had just cut. Kraus had no weapon, but he rubbed his fists, and the two of them glared in the depths of the underground passage where the shaking was coming from. I believe that these are the final metal bars blocking the way. How far is it to the mansion from here? Quite a walk. The path is even, but I seem to remember walking for 30 minutes. So if we run all out, it'll be half that time. They couldn't tell for sure since they didn't have the three-sided mirror, but there was no guarantee that George and Jessica would still be alright against the demon opponents after all this time. If we run at twice the speed of walking, it'll be 15 minutes, and twice the speed would make it 8 minutes. And if we sprint all out at double that speed, it won't even take 5. No problem. Well, what an unreasonable calculation, but that's how you calculate in a fire. My sincere apologies, everyone. Please watch my back. Leave it to us. Cannon, you cut the metal bars as fast as you can. Shannon, you concentrate on jamming this witch called Virgilia or whatever. Kyrie and I will defend against our pursuers. Then the roars of the beast rang up in the darkness, and several fiery, glowing, bright red eyes appeared. Goats that were several levels more massive than the guards were rushing with an incredible force. The tremors they created were almost like an earthquake. They brought a frightening intensity and terror, but Kyrie actually laughed with relief. Those massive bodies wouldn't be able to go through the crack in the bars. A group of goats crushed into the metal bars with a fierce sound like a train colliding with a dead end. Clumps of dirt fell here and there from the ceiling, and you could tell that the metal bars had bent as if collapsing. Their charging power was probably on par with a train. If the metal bars hadn't been there, they would likely have overwhelmed the 5 of them and crushed them in an instant. When the group of goats pressing up against the metal bars noticed the 5 people right in front of them, they let out a terrible howl, trying to intimidate the 5. Or maybe that was the pain from their game of push and shove. One calm goat among them figured out what should be done about the metal bars, then grabbed 2 of them with its massive arms and began bending them as though opening the double doors. Kyrie sharply jabbed her metal pole at the goat's vitals. The goat let out a roar of anguish. It probably hurt a lot, but that was all. It wasn't enough to bring it down. Kraus saw it. Whoa! Still holding the metal pole she had stuck out, Kyrie relinquished the opposite tip to Kraus. Kraus ran there with all his might and jumped up and kicked down on it with all his weight, kicking power combined. All of the destructive power that was focused into a single pole, drilling it in. Are you okay? Please don't rub the affected area. I'll prescribe some medicine later. Take care. As the goat who'd taken a pile bunker to his vitals writhed with teary eyes, it nodded its head. Looks like our link isn't that bad either. We won't lose to Shannon-chan and Cannon-kun. Naturally, for a loving family like us. We can do it if we take them together. Next, the one on the right. Understood. You really are a good wife. That Rudolph must have grumbled a little too much. Oh, tell me about it later. Rudolph's son suddenly turning pale, and heaven won't do you any good, okay? The goats' massive bodies were buried in rose bushes. Even taking into account that a leg's power is 3 times that of an arm's, this strength surpassed common sense. To think that those massive bodies had been kicked in the chin and flown through the air, it was too fierce. Even George seemed a little surprised. To think that my kicks work on monsters, too. Now, there's a shock. It's because of your counterattack style barrier. The attacking power that grazes you is added onto your own. Your kick has been supplemented by those monsters' superhuman strength. Oh, I don't really get it, but isn't that just perfect for me? No matter who attacks me, they should be prepared for a counterattack of equal measure. Non-aggressive defense. That's my policy. That's why Gape couldn't easily touch him. The counterattack style barrier had no defensive power. However, because of its countering ability, it would be useful in defense by making the opponent hesitate to attack. The goats had been foolish and so had attacked without worrying, but this second effect had worked in full against Gape. These guys really are dull. When your power is even, it's always an advantage to have a smaller bill. He lightly dodged the log-like arms. When those arms touched the barrier that protected George, they let off a strong red light. The tip of the counter-attacking foot would then gain the same sparkle, and the superhuman power of the goat added to its own. The second goat fell forward and floated in the air for a second. Then George's next roundhouse kick missed right over the falling goat's head. For an instant, the goat hoped it might get away with its life. But no, a heel was dropped onto the back of its head, and it was forced to kiss the ground. Going from a high roundhouse kiss into a neri chagi is pretty basic, right? Works pretty well even every now and then. This guy's a problem. Seriously, a problem. What do you mean, demons? What do you mean, witches? The rulers of Rakanjima are the Ushiromiya family. I'll make you physically aware of that. You... The only way to finish off George, now that his body was wrapped up in a counterattack-style barrier, was to deny him a chance to counterattack. Nothing to do but suck him into the abyss next, then kick and drop him, and kick and drop him, and kick and drop him, until she kicked him to death. But George had already completely seen through the feint warning signs that told of the appearance of Gape's pitfalls. If he could jump over the next pitfall, then this time he would probably pulverize Gape's head with his whirlwind-like kick without holding back in the slightest, just as had been done to his parents. She was able to envision that scene vividly. Gape hated Kenzo more than ever for calling her out to this ridiculous island. Even though Renove held out a shield, he had finally started using his hands. Without a more powerful shield, he wouldn't be able to block Jessica's fists anymore. The enchantment on Jessica's fists grew the more she fought. The permeating upgrade had already grown several times, and those fists had also been given an impact upgrade, a piercing upgrade, and a speed upgrade, making them fists worthy to fight on par with a demon. What's wrong? Starting to get tired? You're getting all slow. No, your movements and thoughts and kinetic vision have been rapidly enchanted. My movements have not changed from the beginning. Your movements are beginning to catch up to mine. And you still won't fight back. This is my style, however I cannot allow it to continue at this rate. It's about time for me to get serious and end this. Renove's face turned into an expression he hadn't shown before. It was full of respect for Jessica in a truly demonic way, because it was an expression he only showed for enemies who made him get serious. Whoa, what the? With a gesture of his whole body that you couldn't call elegant, Renove held out a shield with all his strength, a shield the size and thickness of a wall. It was more tenacious than a simple shield. It was literally a wall, and on top of that, with all of Renove's magical power, it pushed Jessica back bit by bit. Did he plan on pushing her back against the wall and crushing her to death? Jessica tried to break through the wall with both fists, but it was solid. Without any exaggeration, it was solid. Why does this remind me of Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors? Is this what you call serious? No problem, I'll break right through it. I will not let you this time. This wall is somewhat different. Here, allow me to enchant it as well. When Renove made a magic sign almost like a ninja, the wall glowed red for just an instant, and some kind of ominous power dwelt within it. Jessica was able to recognize that almost immediately with her body. Every time her fist hit the wall, pain as though glass fragments had scattered and hit her all over her body rebounded against her. I upgraded with an active-reactive armor, an exceptional item that will decrease the force of your attacks by counterbalancing them, and which can even counterattack with reactive fragments. It is perfectly fine to keep punching, but doing so will damage you as well. Heh. In short, it's an endurance test between me and your wall? No problem. Will you fall to your knees first, or be pushed into the wall first? Allow me to observe. Except I might break through it and smash the whole wall along your face, right? Watch it. My eyes hurt. Without hesitation, Jessica punched using both fists. Each time she did, a large amount of shards scattered, torturing her whole entire body. Instantly, several red gashes appeared all over her. She grimaced at the intense agony, but her eyes were burning with fighting spirit, and her lips curved in a grin that stood in sharp contrast to the pain. Cannon, are you done yet? We're fine, but the metal bars blocking them don't seem to be. Just a little more. There's no stopping these guys. These metal bars might break just from them shoving each other. The group of goats made the metal bars creak. Several arms grabbed the bars, twisting them with superhuman strength. However, some bars were being pulled in opposite directions by different hands. Apparently, they really were stupid. The way those countless hands grabbed the metal bars sometimes happened to match up by chance. Several hands, grasping two metal bars, neatly pulled their power together and pulled the bars to the left and the right. This incredible sound of the metal bending could be heard. That crack was getting larger bit by bit. They attacked the arms of the goats one by one, but they weren't getting anywhere. They couldn't stop the gap from spreading left and right. At that time, there was a loud metal sound behind them. Cannon had finally finished cutting. Quickly! Kairi-san, ladies first. You go next, Dr. Nanjo. Kraus-sama, please leave this place to me. This is... Cannon's red sword had cut the metal bars, disappeared. Sorry. We've entered Virgilia-sama's spirit particle area of influence. Our magic power has been neutralized. Oh ho ho! How dare you resist me this far? I, who was called a great witch. You can no longer use your magic in that underground passage. A magic circle column drew a complex magical complex magical formula with Virgilia at the center. With such genuine magic being used, Shannon's power couldn't even compete. On the contrary, it was surprising that she had withstood as long as she had. Spirit particle supremacy ensured. Come, Chister sisters, it's your turn now, right? Wait, are you still rebooting? Why are kids these days so bad at waking up? But my apologies, we're all different versions. Why do the shortcuts and pull-down menus get all screwed up every time you change versions, Nia? You did not shut down correctly last time. Administrator privileges? What's going on? I don't know. Urkyukyu, fix me quickly, wah. Call the Imperial Guards, troubleshooting team. What? You can't help us without a user code? 45 had the user code, Nia. Ukyu, yo. It just sounds like 9999 in Japanese to me. Have her write it on some paper. She can't reinstall her IME, so she can't write her characters, Nia. You take your time fixing yourselves. I'm going. Sorry. The narrow underground passage was packed with goats, truly like a commuter train in the morning. Virgilia was again shocked by this congestion. What are you doing? Huh? You want to go first because you want the prize? You're getting in each other's ways because you don't want the other goats to steal the prize from you? You stupid goats! I'm going, so make way. What? You don't want to? Virgilia-sama is trying to steal your prize? Why are you all standing arm in arm? Ah, tight, cramped. When did this become a ghost-only car? Oogie, you. That kid who just touched my butt. Get off. The next station. What's with you? Come this way, you say. The five in Krause's group dashed through the passageway with all their strength. They couldn't dawdle around in an underground place like this. They had to quickly join up with the children on the surface. If they could meet up there, would no longer be any more sorrow. At that time, a terrible rumble started chasing them. Had their pursuers finally made it through the metal bars? But they couldn't see anyone when they turned around. However, that rumble and the dirt that fell here and there from the ceiling grew closer. Finally, catching up to them, and even going past them, it felt almost as though being chased by ghosts. For a second, they thought they'd gotten away until the ceiling in front of them fell in, and a single goat stood in their path. Virgilia was sitting on its shoulder. The wise child knew a shortcut. This. What a good kid. You get first prize. Later, you can have some handmade mackerel curry. Maybe it really... Okay, Kumasawa. Maybe it really was happy about that dubious prize. The massive goat showed its joy by putting its hands together and writhing. Virgilia leapt down, laughing that this time it was finally checkmate. Damn, it's no use. Our magic has been completely killed. Not yet. Even without magic, we still have these bodies. Don't be ridiculous. There's no way you could fight a monster like that without a strange power. So stay back, children. I'll do something about this, so escape past the sides of the monster while I distract them. I won't let you. Ho ho ho. When Virgilia clapped her hands, a purple magic circle wall appeared behind her, stealing even the faint hope that Kraus had been betting on. Is there nothing more to be done? No, not yet. Even Jessica thought I must do so as well. Are you serious? It's not possible, not against a massive monster. Don't be absurd. Krauson, let us think of another way. If you think of something, say it. Till then, it looks like I'll have to manage something. Come on, get back. Take care. Oh ho ho. My, Kraus. You intend to fight this child alone? You'd never know. In a fight, it's always possible to get in a lucky shot. Ho 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 ho. You think you can win even with a fluke? Allow me to explain so that even one who is so blissfully unaware of his place can understand. What? Oh ho ho. If you were to wield 100% of your strength, your power level is at most 6. In comparison, this child's power level is over 1,000. In short, even if there were 100 of you, you definitely couldn't win him. So it's Farmer with shotgun versus Raditz? Well, it's true that there are uncertain elements in a fight. Let us admit that your power level has a slight scaling factor to it. But even so, your chances of defeating this child are perhaps 0.00001%. Do you understand? You don't even have a 1 in 10,000 chance of victory. Ho ho. Virgilia and the goat guffawed together. Damn it. If I've got a 1 in 10,000 chance, that means the payoff will be 10,000 times greater, right? A splendid dark horse. Seeing a ticket like that makes me want to buy it right away. Ho ho ho. But the coin to buy it is your life, and you've only one of those, yes? However, I can understand why you'd still want to entrust that miracle to fate. Burnkinsell might have a thing to say about that. Therefore, I shall praise your courage for standing against us without fear and give you a bit of a handicap. This child will fight with only its left arm. Well then, even so, I have absolutely no intention of losing to you. Come to think of it, what's that bing bong noise I keep hearing? But very well. I'll take that challenge. Whether it uses its left arm or not, I'm sure I'd be killed with a single strike. I only have a single chance at a strike. I can only bet everything on that. Why am I imagining Domo and Kashu from G Gundam with his hand burning? That's absurd, Krauson. I know you used to do boxing, but wasn't that as far back as your old college days? No, even if you were a pro boxer, there's no way you could defeat a monster like that with one strike. That would be true if it were a match in the ring, but while Kraus Nissan's chance to bet on this hope is faint, it does exist. He's betting everything on that hope. You aren't saying... But there's no way that would work out. Kraus-sama. But watch me. I'll settle this with a single strike. Oh, how shallow. I know what you're after. The distance between the two of them is more than 10 meters. If the goat and Kraus step in, with all their strength to settle the fight with a single blow, their power will be double what is normal. Both will crash together, so it's relative 4 times normal. Even so, on top of that, the strike lands on a weak point for a critical hit. That will only double the power again. In short, Kraus' maximum power level 6 times 8 would be 48 at most. He might not be able to win. He might not be able to win if you repeated that lucky strike a full 20 times. Oh, if you're killed every time you take a hit and your damage still accumulates. Let's see, perhaps you might finally win when we get to episode 24, yes? Oh, if only this series could stretch on so long. Either way, you don't even have a slight chance of victory. Hey, seriously, what is that bing bong sound? Let me bet everything on a single strike. Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. You have no reason to hold back either, Goat-kun. Come at me, seriously. Oh, he's requesting that you go out. Smash him with a single serious strike, and turn him into chunks of meat. As the goat got excited and beat its chest over and over, it took a position as though preparing for a sprint. Oh, is this what you wanted? Bet your hopes on the greatest limits of your power level, and despair when even this gets you nowhere. Why is it an 8? It rang again. What the heck? It really is starting to get on my nerves. Here I go. Ready? The goat howled in response. Then, with a matched timing that only the men confronting each other could comprehend, the two leapt forward like bullets shot out of a gun. The men howled, collecting the strength from all over their bodies into one arm each. The goat's fiery, glowing eyes clearly locked onto Krause's face. He could perfectly see a vision of when he would step forwards, when he would punch through Krause and blow him away, and when he would win perfectly. The long, painful days up to that point drifted through the goat's mind. Those painful days of training when his senpais had picked on him. She's gonna eat me. Those painful days, those faint glimpses of the warm concern his senpais felt for him. Go on ahead and leave this to me, senpai. And the joy of that day, his power had been acknowledged when he had been accepted as one of the comrades. Okay, this is odd. I never showed proper respect to my parents. Okay, I saw Maria there for like a second, but it went by too quick. Did Maria and Battler... When George and Jessica left, did Maria and Battler work together to create a fake goat to infiltrate? I mean, there are several problems with that, but or is that Beatrice over there? But obviously we saw Maria. I never showed proper respect to my parents. That's right. Didn't I plan to wash my hands of this business when this job was over and return to my hometown? What is this? What is happening? I'm sorry, little goat sister. Your Oni-chan always caused you so much trouble. And I actually have a childhood friend, and I'm going to marry her when I get home. Okay. Yeah! No! Stop tripping all those loser flags! Are we making a TV tropes joke? You can't handle that punch. Dodge it, Nappa. It happened the instant before the two crashed and their punches crossed. You fool, Virgilia. So we went with not just Krause's power increasing, but the goat's power decreasing. Looks like you failed to make a calm and rational decision. You mustn't take that punch. Knock it aside. Destructo Disc! The very instant the goat's left straight and Krause straight crossed, the goat obeyed Virgilia's order with super fast reflexes and pulled it straight back, repelling Krause's punch. That's right, Virgilia's decision probably had been wise. After all, the number of losing flags amplifies the power level of one's opponent. That was close. Oh, it was a multiplier. How many multipliers were applied? So a 19 times multiplier. Almost got to 20. That was close. If you had taken that punch after tripping so many loser flags, imagine just how great a force it would have been amplified to. Come on, from there, smash the completely open right side of his face with a right straight. What? That promise about fighting with only your left arm? Ho ho! Aren't promises made to be broken? Oh, you tripped another flag. Yeah, tripped another one. I'm disappointed, Virgilia. You really have lost your composure. What's that? Is this like the red truce thing where like certain statements can be true but also carry weight with them? We have not seen the red truth or the blue thing for a while. That's like we're really building up the suspense on that. How was I not composed by noticing it beforehand and making him avoid it? Well, why is that, Kairi-sama? If they had crashed like that, wouldn't it have been Krause's? Ah, I see. Even with 20 loser flags, that's not enough. Krause and the goats double rush, made for 4 times. With the miracle as an ally, the firm promise of a critical hit doubled against it for 8. And on top of that, there was amplification of over 20 times, equal to the number of loser flags, making it for 8 times 160. At a glance, that was incredible amplification. Even so, Krause's power level was 6. Even multiplied by 160 only made for a power level of 960, just barely below the goat's 1000. That's why I said you weren't composed. It's your blunder. If they had crashed like that, you would have won. We're just like fully embracing this at this point, huh? Oh, even if that were so, it all comes to the same thing. If this right straight smashes Krause's head, die, Ushiromiya Krause. Take this, the strongest strike of the boxing world. After repelling Krause's right straight, the goat's right straight attacked the right side of Krause's face, which had been left open. But there it crossed Krause's left straight. The 2 punches crossed and time stopped as each aimed for the face of the other. Ho, 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 to think that it would be timed for a simultaneous strike, but this power level stops at 1x160, making it 960. It doesn't reach up to my child's 1000. No, Virgilia-san, it's your loss. Why? You made him repel the first cross counter. Certainly if another right straight after that were to hit, Krause would probably be in pieces. However, that was crossed. That's no good. Sorry, but this is a complete loss for you and this goat. A cross counter has 4 times the destructive power of a normal punch. This is common knowledge in the boxing world, and if it's blocked and the right straight hits, then it's a double cross counter with an 8 times destructive power. How did anyone figure this out? Is this bullshit? This is also common knowledge in the boxing world. Is it? And if that is crossed, then by the principle of leverage, the triple cross would multiply the destructive power by 12. This is also painfully common knowledge in the boxing world. Is it? Is it? But fine. Let Krause have the Kaioken. Why not? It's even written in a my Shobo book. Krause-san's power level is 6. We're just like seeing a picture of Super Saiyan 3 Krause. The rushing from both sides is time 4. Then the critical hit is times 8. Then the times 160 for tripping too many loser flags. And times 12 again for the triple cross counter. You're in the middle of throwing a punch. To times 1920. His power level is 11,520. Krause's punch now had the power to easily win the first Tenkaichi Budokai. Of course we were making TBC jokes. Fine. This result, I appreciate it though. This result was brought about by Krause-san's persistence and not giving up on victory until the end, and your pride. Without either, this strength would not exist. You fought well. You may now fall. Nanjo clapped the goat on the shoulder. One-chan gave its all. As the sparkling drops from the goat's eyes scattered, he went backwards and fell on Virgilia. Gurgur! Hey, get off me! The goat's massive body was too heavy for the slender Virgilia. She wriggled around with it on top of her, but it didn't look like she'd be able to escape. In that instant, the barrier Virgilia had sealed broke. Don't take it personally. It was the principle of leverage that led to your defeat. I wonder how the principle of leverage applied to that counter. It's an eternal mystery. Let's escape while we can. You can take care too, Goat-san. Well then, excuse us, Virgilia-sama. Bow. Oh, wait! Wait up! Get this off me! Key! Give me! After that, there was nothing to block their way. They ran intently through the underground passage. Jessica had finally been cornered with the wall at her back. Renove advanced with his magic circle wall bit by bit and would probably crush her against the other wall eventually. Considering the distance she threw out her fists, this would be her final strike. Jessica had dealt out many punches so far. The wall wasn't invincible.